someone taking our kids. And safety experts say this time of year, with kids going back to school, walking, or waiting at bus stops, it's important to have a conversation with your children about what to do.
Before the storm hit, Cityville had always been a symbol of peace and prosperity. It was
You know that the vast majority of attempted abductions and successful abductions use a vehicle. We know that the perpetrators are using the same lures, like asking for directions, looking for a lost puppy, or having candy.
a city where families walked the streets without fear and businesses thrived. But on March 12, 2024, everything changed. Rumors started spreading about an underground network operating in the city, criminals using the cover of night to plan unimaginable horrors. The authorities had noticed a few signs, but it was too late to prevent what was about to unfold. As tensions grew, local residents began to feel uneasy. People spoke in hushed tones about the whispers of a high-profile figure being targeted, but no one took it seriously at first. The city was in denial, believing that such things only happened in movies or faraway places. Little did they know, the calm they'd known was about to be shattered. The city's stability was already on the brink as the first signs of a major threat began to surface. Something big was coming, and March 15, 2024 would prove it. The abduction unfolds. On the morning of March 15, 2024, chaos erupted. Sarah Reynolds, a well-known local businesswoman, was abducted right outside her office in downtown Cityville. It happened so quickly that no one had time to react. The perpetrators, masked and armed, grabbed her without warning and disappeared into the crowded streets. Witnesses were left in shock, unsure of what had just occurred. Sarah, in her mid-40s, had become a symbol of the city's growth. Her company, Reynolds Enterprises, employed hundreds, and her kidnapping sent ripples of fear across the community. The kidnappers didn't just target her because of her wealth, but for something far more sinister, a chance to expose the vulnerabilities of a city they believed was untouchable. Law enforcement, led by Detective James Caldwell, launched an immediate investigation, but it was clear that this wasn't going to be an easy case. Cityville had just been thrust into a nightmare. Demands and deadlines. The call came on March 15, 2024, just hours after the kidnapping. A masked voice, cold and calculated, made the ransom demand. $10 million was the price for the safe return of the victim, a prominent business leader with ties to the city's elite. Time was critical. The kidnappers made it clear that if the money wasn't delivered by midnight on March 17, the consequences would be severe. The clock ticked, and the city fell into chaos. The police were immediately on alert, but the kidnappers had done their homework. They knew the city's weaknesses. Negotiations began behind closed doors, with the authorities trying to buy time while preparing for a potential rescue mission. Tensions mounted as the deadline approached, and the pressure to meet the kidnappers' demands weighed heavily on the city's leaders. Every second mattered. Failure could lead to irreversible consequences. The city's response. The news of Sarah Reynolds' kidnapping spread like wildfire through Cityville on March 16, 2024. Panic began to settle in as citizens realized their once peaceful city was now a target. In response, the mayor, Lucas Harding, held a press conference, reassuring the public that everything would be done to bring Sarah home safely. The city's emergency measures were immediately activated, with extra patrols and security checkpoints set up in key areas. Local businesses temporarily shut down, and schools were placed on high alert. The city's police force, led by Chief Angela Parks, worked tirelessly, coordinating with the state and federal agencies to track down the kidnappers. However, frustration was mounting as the days passed with no solid leads. Every corner of the city seemed to be watching, waiting for any sign of Sarah's whereabouts, and the fear of what would happen next loomed large over everyone. The city had never been more on edge. Negotiation tensions. By March 18, 2024, the kidnappers made their first move. They contacted the police with a chilling ransom demand, $5 million in exchange for Sarah's safe return. The message was clear: pay up or Sarah would never be seen again. The demand was accompanied by strict instructions: no police involvement, no interference from the media. Failure to comply would result in dire consequences. Behind the scenes, the city's negotiators, led by James Caldwell, began intense discussions with the kidnappers. The pressure was immense, with time ticking away. The team had to balance the need to act quickly with the risk of making a misstep that could cost Sarah's life. The city held its breath as each phone call and negotiation grew more tense. There was no room for error. If the wrong move was made, it could all be over. Meanwhile, the kidnappers seemed to be one step ahead, outsmarting the authorities at every turn. Cityville was in crisis, and every minute counted. The rescue operation. On the night of March 21, 2024, after days of tense negotiations, law enforcement received a breakthrough. They had traced the phone calls made by the kidnappers to a secluded warehouse just outside the city. With the ransom deadline looming, a bold rescue operation was put into motion. Led by Detective James Caldwell and supported by the Special Operations Unit, the operation was meticulously planned. Officers surrounded the warehouse, their hearts racing with the hope of bringing Sarah back safely. The tension was unbearable. One wrong move could jeopardize everything. As the SWAT team stormed the building, they encountered heavy resistance. Shots rang out in the dark. The authorities pressed forward, determined to save Sarah. In a dramatic turn of events, the team located her tied up in a back room. She was shaken but alive. The kidnappers were arrested, and the city breathed a collective sigh of relief. Sarah's rescue was hailed as a success, but the scars of the ordeal would remain in Cityville for years to come. The city had been forever changed. Aftermath and repercussions. After Sarah Reynolds' rescue on March 22, 2024, Cityville was left grappling with the aftermath. The city had never experienced such a traumatic event, and the fear of what could happen next lingered in the air. Businesses, schools, and families felt the emotional impact. While Sarah's return was a relief, the city's sense of security had been shattered. Cityville worked hard to rebuild, but it would take time before the community felt safe and whole again. The ripple effects of that fateful day were felt for months. Legal proceedings. The legal battle for justice began soon after Sarah Reynolds' rescue. By April 5, 2024, the suspects were formally charged with kidnapping, extortion, and attempted murder. The case captivated the public's attention as Detective James Caldwell and his team worked tirelessly to build a solid case. The trial, which began in May 2024, was filled with tense moments. After weeks of courtroom drama, the kidnappers were convicted on June 12, 2024, and sentenced to life in prison. The case highlighted the city's need for better security measures. Lessons learned. The kidnapping of Sarah Reynolds became a turning point for Cityville in more ways than one. In the aftermath, city officials and law enforcement began to reevaluate their security measures, learning from the mistakes made during the crisis. By July 2024, new policies were put in place to address the city's vulnerabilities, including increased surveillance, better coordination between local and federal agencies, and enhanced crisis management training for law enforcement. Mayor Lucas Harding initiated a series of town hall meetings to listen to the concerns of residents and to strengthen the community's response to emergencies. It became clear that Cityville was no longer the carefree place it once was. It had to adapt to a world where danger could strike unexpectedly. Local businesses also joined the effort, investing in their own security systems and participating in workshops on how to handle emergencies. Schools introduced safety protocols, and neighborhood watch programs became more active. The lesson was clear: the city had to be vigilant and proactive. While the scars of the kidnapping would never fully fade, Cityville had learned that safety was not just the responsibility of the authorities, it was a shared commitment between the government and its citizens. A city's road to healing. The recovery of Cityville was a long and difficult process. By August 2024, while the legal proceedings had concluded, the emotional scars of the kidnapping were still fresh. For Sarah Reynolds, the trauma of being held captive would never fully fade, but with the support of her community and loved ones, she began to heal. She became an advocate for victims' rights, using her story to inspire others and raise awareness about the impact of crime on families and communities. Cityville, too, started its journey of healing. The once feared streets slowly returned to a sense of normalcy, but but the city was forever changed. Neighborhoods that had once been filled with carefree laughter now prioritized safety, and there was a renewed sense of unity. Citizens were more connected, more watchful, and more willing to help each other. The city's leaders, including Mayor Lucas Harding, emphasized the importance of rebuilding trust. They implemented new programs to support the mental health of those affected, providing counseling services for residents and first responders alike. It was clear that the road to full recovery would take time, but Cityville was determined to come out stronger. As the years passed, the fear and uncertainty that once gripped the city began to fade. Cityville slowly regained its vibrancy, but the resilience and strength of its people remained the true heart of the city. The lesson was simple. No matter the challenge, a community united can heal and rebuild, stronger than ever before. Don't miss the next explosive story, Dark Trails, the chilling journey of a notorious serial killer. Subscribe now or risk being left in the dark.